on maynard.com.au. Hey, you!
This whole thing
is unbelievable.
Is a humiliation to anyone who's ever done broadcast journalism.
Yes.
It's a complete fiasco. It is probably the worst little production I've ever seen.
And they put some money into it.
It's got illogic. Jumps from one thing to another. It makes false associations. It's so bad. It should be, they should shoot these people.
Ladies and gentlemen, on the line, on Skype, we have sitting there in his bunker of, I don't know, what is your bunker of, John?
It's made out of bricks.
His bunker of bricks there, which could be North Silicon Valley, it could be somewhere in Washington State, we just don't know. John C. Dvorak, of course, known for his column in PC Mag, X3, where he gets a bit of a panel going there. He loves talking to millennials as well, which I'm sure he'll talk about in a moment. And, of course, from the No Agenda Show, John C. Dvorak.
Thanks, Maynard. By the way, DH Unplugged.
And how did you get involved in being a stock forecasting guy?
Oh, I've been writing on, besides being a computer writer, I've been writing in financial journals since, the mid-'90s. I used to write for Barron's, and then I was at Forbes. Now I'm at Market Watch, Dow Jones Market Watch, and I've always dabbled in it. I had a license, a NASDAQ license, and I played around with it. But I know so much about tech, I can kind of comment on some of the bogativity of some of the companies because, they have earnings reports will come out and they say this is going to happen or that's going to happen. And I have kind of a insider's perspective that a lot of the stock analysts don't have. And I just write about it. It's not really that difficult.
As a complete outsider like I am, I see the stock market as being complete smoke and mirrors. As someone who's known it for a while, is that the case? Is it all bogative?
Well, a lot of people believe it's, in fact, most of the people who have been in it for a long time believe that it's rigged. But that doesn't mean you can't make money. You just have to be on the right side of the game. And that's the tough part. And Horowitz and I discussed this. We became pretty good friends over the years. And he's been a money manager, educated as such. And he's pretty skeptical about a lot of the stuff that goes on. And he's really good at picking some of these little mini bubbles. We have same kind of thing, an hour-long conversation without all the sounds. People seem to enjoy it. We have maybe 50,000 listeners to that show.
With Andrew Horowitz, is there a marker, an indicator you guys look at that is a real indicator of the way the market's going and the way the economy's going? Some people say it's women's lipstick. Some people say it's hemlines. Is there something over the decades? Yeah. Is there something that is stuck that you reckon is a good one? Well,
I'm more into coincidental indexes than he is. In fact, there's really nothing. Although I still think the hemline thing is a good indicator, and there's probably some other ones. I believe because of the cycles, I think we're in a worldwide depression, and it's just that we're just doing a good job of covering it up so far.
You're a cyclist. You believe in the various economic cycles. Are we in a huge 100 or more year or 70-year cycle economically at the moment?
No, it's a 40 and 80-year cycle the way I have it, and this is the bad 10 years. Really won't clear up until 2020.
Is there anything that anyone can do?
No. It's kind of the business cycle, which has a lot of components. A lot of them we don't fully understand, and seems to happen over and over again.
You've called for the repeal of Sarbanes-Oxley. Is there?
Yeah.
Would you like to see the reinstatement of the act that Clinton got rid of that made anybody could be a bank?
Glass-Steagall.
Yes. Do you think Glass-Steagall should come back?
Oh, absolutely. The reason that we didn't have a really bad depression from 1970 to 1980, which was a downturn, and we had nothing but trouble, but it was kind of staved off. It was a depression, but it was staved off a little bit by the fact that we had Glass-Steagall and some of these other protections in place. But it's one of those crazy things that you put protections in place and then nothing happens. And he said, well, what do we need these protections for? It's like a weird kind of catch-22 reverse irony. The thing that keeps you from having a mess, in this case we'll say Glass-Steagall among two or three other items, you don't have a mess, and so then you say, well, we need Glass-Steagall for? What did it do? Because you don't notice. And then you remove Glass-Steagall and you set up the same scenario that took place. Glass-Steagall was fine. We don't really need banks mixing money that from savings with investments with insurance. I mean, the idea was Glass-Steagall was to break up stockbroker, insurance company, bank, and investment bank into entities that had to be separate because they were using each other. They were using monies from the different funds. They were just setting themselves up. They couldn't not speculate, especially in 29. They changed all that back to the way it was. And now here's what we've got, a mess. And it's getting worse under the Obama administration because they essentially have nobody in the administration that's ever worked for a living outside the government. So they don't know how businesses work, how to run them, or anything else.
Do you and Andrew have a bit of a laugh at the day traders that were really popular in the early 90s there? These people that could just get online, follow the market, and make money. And now if you did that, you would lose your shirt very quickly.
It's not actually true.
No?
We don't have much of a laugh with them because there's a number of, in fact, a friend of mine who couldn't get work, very smart guy, has been a day trader for the last 3 or 4 years, and he's making close to $200,000 a year.
But I thought in such a volatile market.
No, the tools are newer. They just don't talk about it as much. Day trading used to be considered something that you used to mock. And it's just assumed what you assumed, which is that it's a loser. Fact is, there's a lot of people making serious money, and what they're really doing is day trading because the way the markets have shifted over the years, day trading is one of the few ways you can actually make money. Long-term investment doesn't work at all.
Because I thought that because the market is volatile, if you keep your eye off it for a while, you can...
Oh, no, you can't. You have to. That's absolutely true. But these day traders are just essentially pinned to the market on a minute-by-minute basis, and they're moving a lot of stuff back and forth and back and forth. It's not. You can't be casual about it. You have to be serious about it, and it's like a full-time job. I wouldn't do it. It seems like a boring thing to do, but that's what they do.
Look, you're not a guy that is bored easily, and I must bring up fairly early on here that you have seen Jimi Hendrix live 3 times, is that correct?
Six.
You saw Jimi Hendrix live 6 times. Can you describe to us what that was like?
I saw Jimi Hendrix live so much that I walked out on one of his shows.
Were these uni gigs? What sort of shows were they?
They were at the Winterland and the Fillmore. Hendrix had come into town, and I also saw him at the Berkeley Community Theater. The shows were great. I mean, the guy was an astonishing guitar player. He's very funny on stage, and he was a good singer. Very creative. He had all kinds of electronic stuff that he'd keep stomping with his foot to make all kinds of sound effects. It was really enjoyable shows. It was a 3-man power trio, very loud. You have to wear ear protection. And the one time I walked out, it was a Winterland concert. I was with a girlfriend, and he was plastered. And it was like he was singing. I walked out during a presentation of Red House. He was wasted, and it wasn't doing anything for me. I'd rather take off, so we left. But most of the time, it was quite good. In fact, the best concert I saw with him was Albert King, Jimi Hendrix, Big Brother and the Holding Company with Janis Joplin, and also Buddy Guy was there to play drums on some set with one of the bands. And Janis Joplin ripped the place apart. I mean, she's the one who was the most entertaining to ever witness. And even Hendrix came out and commented on it because she just blew the lid off the place.
The thing is that you just took it for granted so much at the time because that's what it was. It's like, you didn't know you were being part of musical history, or did you feel like there was something going on there?
No, it was pretty casual. I mean, these venues were full, but it wasn't like people go to a baseball stadium and watch some band from a distance. I mean, you could get up to the stage. I mean, it was different, and it was never thought that it was going to change to the extreme that it has. So you knew you were seeing some pretty great groups and some pretty hot talent, but you never realized that it was a passing thing. It was just one of those things. You just don't know it. You don't miss it until you don't have it anymore. The
mythology goes that everybody in the audience would have had to be completely baked. Was that the case or not?
Yeah.
Okay,
it was pretty close to it. Yeah.
I thought you were going to pop that bubble straight. Oh, no, we were listening to every note.
No, everyone was stoned.
You seem to have had that journey from that time through to now. Has your politics radically changed, or have you been consistent during your time?
No, I was a classic, very liberal-oriented, University of California raised, Bay Area born and raised type of liberal. But looking back on it, I don't think that my attitudes have changed that much. I was a huge George McGovern supporter. Eugene McCarthy is essentially the analog of Ron Paul, but he was a Democrat. So I see there's kind of a connection. The Democrats have become more like Republicans. The Republicans, I don't know what they've turned into recently. I became a Republican during the Reagan era. I think that the Republicans have gone crazy. I think they're overly religious. They want to bomb the heck out of everything for no apparent reason because they think they can get votes by talking like that. And it's like a lot of nonsense on both parties. That's where I'm an independent. So I went through the cycle. I started off as a Democrat, went to becoming a Republican. Now I'm an independent. I was skeptical of both parties. This is not an unusual process that people go through, and I'm classic. I'm actually baffled by people or Republicans in college during an era where you have to deal with these professors, and you're really better off not being a Republican. But how can you even be one? It's always baffled me. And then you run into ones that were Republicans in college, and then they turn into Democrats when they get older and wiser. I've never understood that.
You would definitely be against the tax and spend mentality.
Totally. I think you do have to get money to build roads, but when you see the tax and spend thing, they have extra money, they spend it. I've worked for the government. You got a budget, you spend it higher, you push it for bigger next time. Nothing ever stabilizes. It's always, let's spend more money, let's get a bigger budget, that never ends. Let's tax more and get more money.
So in your lifetime, who's been your favorite president?
I liked Kennedy when he was president, but it was a short-lived deal.
Think you could have kept that going for much longer?
No, I think it was a house of cards, to be honest about it. Looking back on it, him and his philandering. Clinton, who I don't personally like, I think he did a great job of creating a booming economy, even though it may have been cheating. I don't really think I really found a president over the years that I liked that I would say is a favorite. Reagan was enjoyable because he was a character and he had a sense of humor that was useful. But no, I don't think so, nah.
What about your historical studies? Is there one of all time that you've really been into? Maybe Truman or something?
Oh, no, Truman is terrible. Although when I was a young kid, Truman was, because my father was in labor and I was a Democrat little kid. I remember this teacher I had in the 5th grade who was a Republican woman, and she would every once in a while rail against Truman from years earlier, and I always just disliked her for that because why? I didn't know anything, but I disliked her. And no, Truman was terrible. Roosevelt looked good on paper. He kept things going. They tried to get him out, which is an interesting story in itself. They tried to pull a coup. The Democrat Party itself tried to have a coup d'etat. That didn't work out. Looking at him historically, probably wasn't as great as everyone likes to make him out to be. If you go back far enough, Jefferson kind of screwed up because I studied these cycles. He was responsible for one of the economic downturns by some of his policies. Probably George Washington, I'd have to say. The only one, because he's the one who set the stage. He didn't want to become king because they wanted him to be king. He didn't want to be in office for more than 2 terms. He set a standard that I think Eisenhower was also another president I think was a good president.
On Maynard.com.au. Hey, you!